Hello, how am I coming in? Am I being heard? Am I being seen? All good? This might be the first time somebody screamed first. I've never had but then again, I think the way I did it this time allowed people to type before, which is also a first. So this is the first time I've done it this way. And we have our first from Sean. And John coming in a close second. All right. Welcome, both of you guys, and Mason, Douse, KJ, Briar, welcome. As usual, we'll give it a couple minutes for people to come in. Hello, Sindhu, welcome. We'll get started in a little bit as people come in. Hello, Elaine, welcome. Diane, welcome. Hello, Maxwell. Now that's a name that's familiar. Were you active in the past and now you're coming back, or are you brand new? Maxwell. All right, looks like we have a good enough people. We can get started. Put a link to the Maggaseka chanting book. And we're going to do page 85. Uttana Sutta. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Uttahatta nisidatta ko atto supite navo. Atturana hi ka nidda sallavidhana rupatang. Uttahatta nisidatta dalhang sikkatta santiya. Mavo pamatte vinyana machuraja amohata vasunne gue. Yaya deva manusa cha sitta tittanti attika. Taratenang tetang visattikang kanovo ma upajjaga. Kanatita hin sochanti nirayami samapita. Pamado rajo pamado pamadanu patito rajo. Appamadena vijaya abhahe salamatannati. All right. English. Wake up. Make an effort. Get up and sit. What need of sleep? For the sick, what rest is there? Pierced by the dart of pain. Dart of dukkha, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Anyway, get up and sit. Train hard for peace. Let not Mara know that you are negligent, deluded, and under his control. Cross beyond this craving, tied to, desiring which gods and men remain. Don't let this chance pass by. Those who do grieve, sending themselves to hell. From dust arises negligence. From negligence to more. By diligence and knowledge, pluck out the dark oneself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Get up and sit. Very famous words, motivational words, kick in the pants words from the Buddha, right? To get moving. What rest is there with one who is in samsara, with one from whom there is no refuge, with one who is immersed in old age, sickness, and death? What rest is there? There is none. So, why rest when you can practice? Let's see here. Yeah, see, okay. I thought so. I remember you, Maxwell, but it's been a while. I also went away for 5 months, so that'll do it as well. Welcome, Tessa. All right. So, friends, welcome to another Dhammapalooza. Another Monday, another Dhammapalooza. And since yesterday, I believe, was the Super Bowl, we're not competing with Monday Night Football anymore, unfortunately. Now Dhammapalooza reigns supreme as the only good thing for Monday nights. So, and Dhammapalooza is the Maggaseka community, our 2-hour festival of Dhamma. We come together as Kalyanamitta, as good, virtuous friends, good Dhamma friends, to enjoy and to be and to have joyful sharing of the Dhamma together as a community. And so part of this 2-hour festivals, we have a variety of activities that we do. We just did some chanting. We'll do some guided meditations later on. And in between, we don't know. That will be left up to you guys. As you all know, I like to let you guys, as the community, to have a hand in guiding how each Dhammapalooza goes. And this means that each Dhammapalooza is different. Right? There's some certain elements that are always the same, but each one is different. So, as always, I have, a sutta, I have topics and all that stuff that I can talk about. But I like to let you guys have a say. So, if you have any questions you'd like me to try to answer, if you have any topics you'd like me to discuss or the community to discuss, then please type them in the chat. All right, we'll give it a couple minutes. Hello, Catherine Castle. That is a name I'm not familiar with. Are you new to my things? If you are, welcome. If not, then somebody with the last name of Castle, I definitely would have remembered as a medieval enthusiast nerd. I thought so. All right. Well, welcome, Catherine. Welcome to the community here. And that's another thing I forgot to say in my introductions. Since this is a community event, please talk to each other in the chat. No problems going back and forth. If you are, if I'm talking, no problem. Keep talking in the chat. Obviously, it's probably good to listen. But if you're engaging with each other in the chat, that's not a distraction. That's not interrupting, right? It's part of being part of the community. So it's very good. Hello, Jessica. Welcome. So, friends, I see we have already an interesting topic, an interesting question, right? JRF2K. JRF2K. Ah, yes, of course. I remember JRF2K because of the Kerbal, the little Kerbal guy. Yes. Hello. It's been a while. What are your thoughts on something I recently heard? Buddhism's statement about the state of the world is and has always been. What did you expect? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so what should be understood is not that like, oh, the world's just going to hell and it's always going to hell. There are cycles, right? In the suttas, you can see these cycles. There's cycles where people live for thousands of years, right? And everything is very good and very positive. Of course, I mean, it's not only positive, I mean, because this is still samsara, but there's cycles where things are better, right? And then there's cycles where things are way worse, right? So this is just, so in this regard, this is how things are. It's just a cycle. There's a cycle between, things are getting better, things are getting worse. That's all. Like, even you see, like in the ancient Mayas, the Aztecs, they have these kalpas, these cycles of things. The ancient Indians had very similar things, that there's just simply these cycles, right? This is the nature of this thing. This is the nature of samsara. This is the nature of, the Buddhist rebirth. Things arise and they cease, right? Governments arise and they cease. Civilizations rise and they cease. Peace arises and then ceases. War arises and then ceases. This is the nature of things. Now, one thing that you should also understand is that there's no fixing samsara, right? That's important to understand. There's no fixing samsara. That doesn't mean that you can't make things better while you're alive. But what it does mean is that you should have your expectations be grounded in reality. Your expectations be grounded in wisdom, right? Because in so many ways, in many, many ways, you have very little power of what's going on in the world around you. You're kind of swept up in the world, right? The world is going on and doing its thing. That's why I love that quote from Milarepa, right? The affairs of the world are never ending. Do not neglect your meditation, right? So this is something that, as practitioners, as we develop our wisdom and our insight, we see this. Oh, this is just the world. One of the things I often will talk about is how I was very politically active. I would even call myself a political activist. I was the head of my political party for the southern half of my state in New Jersey. Right? I was very politically active, because I believed in being an informed citizen, right? And I would watch all the newses, all the different kinds of news, because they've all been fake. Now I hear this new term, fake news. They've all been fake news for at least 100 years or more. If you know history, you know about yellow journalism, all these things. You can't trust the news. It's always been this way, right? That's why you need to listen from all the different aspects and listen to all the different news organizations, and then maybe you can kind of piece together the truth. But anyway, that's a bit of an aside. So I was very involved in these things, and had a really strong sense of justice and how things should be done, and things like this. And then I reached a point. This is maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago, where a lot of different factors came together. the main one was my practice, right? My practice led me to a point of letting go, of, just realizing in many ways the futility of what I was doing, right? But it was the practice, but also like really, it came down to like, I realized also about because I've always loved history. I'm a deep student of history and human culture and human nature. And, I thought, well, why am I bothering with this? It's the same crap over and over again. And like, name me a politician today that you can complain about. I can tell you about a Roman politician that was the same way 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, right? Or a Egyptian whatever ruler or whatever. History repeats or history rhymes, however you want to say it. Like, human nature doesn't change all that much. So I just had all of these aspects, the human nature, human history, my practice, everything come together. I need to be like, you know what? I'm good. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to try to, as the Buddha says, to drop the world's bait and seek for peace. Right? Like, I think that's what I want to do. I'm pretty good. Because you know what? This world is just going to keep on going the way it's been going. It is, I was born. Who am I? I'm born and I'm going to die. Humans have been around for thousands of years before me. And hopefully humans will be around for thousands of years after. Maybe even millions. Right? So this is important to understand, right? This is just, we're stuck in this cycle. But of course we have, things that want to, like, in a way you want to make the world a better place. I do. At first it was, I want to make it so that people are not so apathetic, about being a responsible citizen in politics and things like that. And I had all these kind of things. But now what I want to leave the world is more Dhamma, right? To raise many, many good sons and daughters of the Dhamma, of the Buddha, right? To have more people, to have more chances to hear the Dhamma. Right? That, to me, that's the best thing I could ever do. That's what I want to do. Who cares about this politician, that politician, this political party, that political party? It's all the same. Even if you go to, even if you see, like, there's a dictator, and then the dictator is toppled by the valiant, the valiant resistance, and then the resistance becomes what it fought against. That's human nature. That's what happens, right? As soon as you have something, you fight to keep it, and you can do all kinds of bad things to keep it, right? So for me personally, I say, okay, I want to get the heck out of this place. I want to be done with samsara. I don't want to stick around anymore. But maybe I can leave lots and lots of good Dhamma in my wake. As I'm waving goodbye. See you later. Peace out. I'm gone. But there's lots of good Dhamma for the good of the manyfold. Right? So that's kind of been my progression in that way. Let's see here. We've had some activity here. Welcome, Bella and Gautam. Welcome. And Dao says, now is the age of the internet. We are having it good. Yes, but we have not evolved into Homo interneticus. we still don't know how to live good lives with something like the internet. We have to develop that. Maxwell says, I swear I've heard that we're supposed to be in a bad cycle according to many traditions. Yeah. I don't know. This is another thing about Buddhism too. Like I was raised Catholic, and one of the things that I love, like from a young age, for some reason, I don't know what it is, But for some reason, from a young age, reading the Bible, I really got into Revelations, right? Like the end of the world kind of stuff. And that kind of grew into like, as a teenager in my 20s, like Nostradamus, and then learning about like the asteroids could take over the world to, destroy the world and all these like end of the world scenarios, right? And then, the same thing is in Buddhism too. It's human nature. Right now, it's like we are hoping the end of the world is coming. The Dhamma is diluted, and so Buddha Maitreya will come. We will pray and we will practice so that we can be around for Buddha Maitreya. Right? So it's just all human nature. It's just all cycles. It's the way it is. JRF says, I took it to mean greed, hatred, and delusion are the norm. Yeah, exactly. No, what do you expect? This is exactly it, right? But we're still ignorant. Like, I thought that Buddhist monasteries are so wonderful places. And then I moved to one, I'm like, oh crap. I brought my greed, hatred, and delusion. Everybody else has their greed, hatred, and delusion. I didn't escape anything. The world is here in this monastery. Greed, hatred, and delusion is here in this monastery. And I've yet to meet a Buddhist, I've not yet to been to a Buddhist monastery that doesn't have greed, hatred, and delusion. Just like everywhere else in the world. This is it. Even if there was a monastery and the abbot was an awakened being, there's still greed, hatred, and delusion all around him or her, right? It doesn't matter. Because this is it. As long as we are a being in samsara, an unawakened being, we have greed, hatred, and delusion. All right, Reed is here. Welcome, Reed. Mason coming in with an awesome quote. The world is swept away. It does not endure. It offers no shelter. There's no one in charge. It has nothing of its own. One has to pass on, leaving everything behind. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I love that quote. Very good quote. And Sean, in the beginning, said in his first quote, I hope, since it's Valentine's Day, we should talk about metta. And I was personally not going to talk about metta on Valentine's Day because metta is already construed enough with love. We should not talk about metta on Valentine's Day. We should talk about pia and pema, right? Pia is affection, a dear one. Pema is love. Pema is romantic love, right? So we should talk about pema and pia if we're going to talk about anything today on Valentine's Day. And actually, interestingly enough, just yesterday during Sutta Monday, we had the sutta, the wonderful sutta, right, where the King Pasenadai and Queen Malika, right, and they, they're in like a nice romantic spot, and the king says, "Is there anyone who you love greater than yourself?" And the queen, of course, is a wise student of the Buddha. She says, "No." No, there is no one I love better than myself. The king is like, oh, well, I guess, okay. No, yeah, I agree. There's no one I love better than myself. Right? And then the Buddha says, yes, of course. One could search for all the world and no one could find somebody who loves somebody else better than themselves. Now, of course, people will say, oh, no, well, I mean, I'm a parent. I love my kids better than myself, or I love my spouse better than myself. Buddha would tend to disagree. Right? And I think it's because it's attachment to self. It's attachment to me, mine, myself. Right? You're not truly selfless because you haven't seen the truth of Anata for yourself yet. Oh, we had a jump in the chat here. All right. Adriana says, like the cartoon of the monks protesting, the end is near. Yeah. Maxwell, I was thinking of the Kali Yuga, which is specifically a Hindu concept, I think. Yeah. I mean, we could be in the Kali Yuga. I don't know. Well, see, in the suttas, again, it's tied to length of life. And the scale is from 10 years to like 84,000 years. Like when people are like the most immoral, like the worst, they live like 10 years. They have a whole cycle of 10 years. Like, I don't know, they have puberty by the time they're like 3 or 4. They have children by the time they're 5. You know, by the time they're 10 years, they're elderly and dead, you know. And then the very immoral, not very virtuous principles, none of that. It's all gone. Very, very immoral time. Very degenerated time. But then as the beings live more virtuous, there's less killing and stealing, and people live better, right? And then lifespans improve. So you could say that because lifespans are improving, we're on the up. We came from the worst times. Now we're on the up of the cycle. We're getting there. It's going to be a long way up to 84,000 years, but it looks like we're on the way up. You could also say, maybe the Bible, the Bible is saying all these beings in the past were living like 1,000 years and then like 100 years. So maybe we're actually on the way down. Maybe we're actually on the way down. I don't know. But so that's the Buddhist conception of the cycles and how it's connected. It's connected to your actions. So this is another interesting one where we have like if all the beings are acting immoral, well then, society kind of falls apart. Adriana says, how about we talk about Asubha on Valentine's Day? Well, this morning, another interesting coincidence, maybe. This morning, for Morning Monastery Experience, as we are, our secondary chant is, we're going through Mahasatipatthana Sutta, and we did Asubha practice this morning. Lobha. Kesa Loka Danta. Kesa Loma Danta Nacho Tacha. Kesa Loma Danta Naka. Oh, I'm messing up the. Those are head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. I know those because when you become a Samanera, that's the first meditation object given to a Samanera or a Samaneri, to reflect on the parts of the body that are easily visible on the outside. Which sutta is this one that you heard with the Kaliko? Hello, Robert. Good to see you. Robert says a 10-year life cycle sounds pretty trippy. Well, not really. I mean, you have flies last 24 hours. Bees last 40 days, right? There are beings that have these real short life cycles. Adriana says, funny from a Western standpoint, you sort of expect the ultimate metta and compassion being totally self-sacrificing. But we know from the Dhammapada, the Buddha tells us not to sacrifice ourselves for others, no matter how great. Right? Not to neglect ourselves for others. You know, because it's always about both. Right? It's always about what is good, doing what is beneficial to yourself, for yourself and others. Sean says, okay, yeah, the one with the queen and the wise. Okay. Yeah. Robert asked, could entertainment fall under the fifth precept? I feel like it can easily turn into something that we can use to zone out and deaden ourselves to the world. No. The fifth precept is about intoxication. Right? I mean, you could go crazy and just be like, everything is intoxicating to us and stuff like that. But no, the entertainment would not be considered under the fifth precept. We should be careful to not expand. We should be careful not to add too much to the precepts. I've seen that a lot in different places, where people will like tack on like 30 different things to each precept. Well, this precept also means X, Y, and Z and things like that. And it can just be too much. It just, like if your intuition and your conscious is telling you that you want to live by a certain principle, then you can do it, no problem. But there's no need to tack it on to one of the five precepts, because in the suttas it's very clear that the five precepts is just like the basic prerequisite. It doesn't cover all skillful activity, right? It's just the basic prerequisite. That's just like the minimum you should do. The absolute minimum you should do is the five precepts. You should do much more, but the minimum is the five precepts. Yeah, Sean points out when you are doing the 8 monastic precepts, then you excuse me, when you're looking into more monastic levels of things, then that's when you're looking to have restraint towards things like entertainments. Let's read. What are we at here? We're at 8:30. Maybe we can read a sutta. A very, very famous sutta. is called the Great 40. Sean says, no way, the food one for me is my major falling point. You mean the one of not eating after 12? Food is a diverse issue. Well, I know. But food can be used for boredom, can be used for entertainment, could also just be used to survive. But that's like the most boring one that nobody even cares about that one anymore. At least not in, maybe, I'm sure there's plenty of places where people are literally, trying to survive. But probably nobody on this stream anyway. Well, of course, I break out a sutta and Adriana breaks out a question. That's how it goes. Dow says, it's like, what do you do apart from entertainment? Well, it's a tough one, right? Because even our ancestors had some form of entertainment. Right? Now, you could say that the entertainment that they had, like telling stories around the campfire, various dancing and rituals and things like that, you could say that there was a kind of just pure entertainment aspect of it. But you could also say, though, that it was also part of enculturation, right? Passing along of stories that have wisdom in them that the next generation needs to learn, right? So prior to like the modern age, even anything kind of considered entertainment also had other factors in it. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Just like watching movies. You can watch movies just for pure entertainment. They don't necessarily need to have any meanings or messages or morals or anything. But you could watch movies that do have meanings, messages, and morals. And that's what I personally found myself, like my top movies all have very deep meanings, messages, and morals. Like I've always been attracted to movies that have these things, right? That like have timeless messages, right? So, so it's a tough thing. But yeah, we are all as humans, if we're not busy doing something, we want to be busy doing something, right? And if our job of survival is done for the day, well then let's do something else. Let's, keep our mind busy, right? Keep the boredom from arising. Oh, now we have multiple people talking about emotional eating. I think we've just adjourned the newest meeting of Overeaters Anonymous or something here. But anyway, Adriana has a question here. Bante, how do we deal with those more prevalent, habitual, unwholesome actions that despite our best efforts, we still end up doing? Like overeating or irritable speech. You have no real power to stop that. You have to accept it. Yeah, I mean, you just have to realize, like, like I tell myself, like, it's okay, man. You're just not there yet. right? If it's strong enough that despite your best efforts, you can't stop doing it, well, then you're just along for the ride. So instead of just wasting that ride, put it to a good purpose. Put it towards the development of insight. Observe, watch, learn, see what you can see. Try to observe the triggers, right? Try to, each time it comes around again, try to see deeper into the causes and conditions, right? The choices that you made and the things that happened that led you to that point where you've lost control, right? If you're to the point where you have no control, you're late. It's like somebody just strapped you into the roller coaster and you can't do much but just go along for the ride. Maybe you can mitigate the damage, but you're not stopping. You're not, I don't know, like what you call it, like Neo from the Matrix, right? Or like the X-Men Magneto dude who can just stop things in midair. You're not stopping this thing, right? You don't have superpowers, right? You just have to let it ride through. But you should do so applying your mindfulness, applying sati, applying sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension, implying yoniso manasikara. Yoniso means the root, yoni, like the womb, right? Manasikara means to consider, to contemplate. So this is to investigate, to contemplate the origin, contemplate the rising. How did I get to this point? Like there's like movies or whatever TV shows, and it like starts out with like the narrator goes, and they're like, I don't know how I got here. Or like, let me think about how I got here, and then it shows you like 5 hours earlier or whatever, something like that, right? So you have to investigate that, right? The only thing you can do is be mindful and investigate. That's it. And as you do that, and if it's deeply ingrained, it'll take years, right? This is a long haul project. When you're talking about deeply ingrained underlying habitual tendencies, this is a long haul project. So you commit yourself to years, right? You just say, this is for the rest of my life. I got to investigate this. And hopefully, 10 years down the road, I will have made a lot of progress, if not overcome it, right? So you just investigate, observe, watch, right? I've told this story before where there were, one time that really sticks out in my mind where my body was just moving towards the refrigerator at night to eat. And I was literally trying to control my body. Like I was like, no, we don't need to do this. No, we don't. Like I was literally trying to force myself to stop, and I could not control my own body. This was maybe only like this. I was a bhavana at the time. I was in one of my dark times. This was not an this. I was a meditator for many years by this point, but I've long since come to the understanding that I still have many years to go before I fully overcome all my food issues. It's just the way it is. But I remember that so vividly, literally having no control over my own body. Just being the observer of watching my body go to the refrigerator. That was a real kind of like real eye-opening insight for me to have that experience, to be fully mindful, fully aware, fully clearly comprehending what is happening and understanding I have no control over this. In a way, it's kind of like computer code going through its run run program, right? It's just a habit going through, right? And at that time, the causes and conditions were such that I was fully mindful and aware, but yet in such a state that this happened. The habits, old habits won over, and it was just, I was on the roller coaster, and all I could do was just observe, use it as a vehicle for insight. That's all I could do. Let's see here. Mason says, stare at the cave paintings. The anthropologist in me, I would love, like, if I one day I get, like, if I go to Europe, I get to see one of those cave paintings, I would stare at those cave paintings for quite a while, like, connecting with my ancestors, our ancestors, all of ours. Just reading through the comments here. Reed is heading out. Good night, Reed. You're probably already gone. Let's see. And everybody's saying good night. Good night to Reed. Au revoir. Arrivederci. Ciao. Adios. All right. Mason saying, yes, past the event horizon, no escape. Yeah, basically. Hello, Robert Ma. Welcome. All right. Let's see. 47. I think we can read a little bit of the sutta at least. Where did it go? Where did I put that sutta? Ah, here we go. This is very famous sutta, the Great 40. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. There, the Buddha addressed the mendicants. Mendicants, venerable sir, they replied. The Buddha said this: Mendicants, I will teach you noble right jhana. Oh, no, well, actually, no, that's not jhana. Samma samadhi. So I will teach you the eighth factor of the Noble Eightfold Path, with its vital conditions and its prerequisites. Listen and pay close attention. I will speak. Yes, sir, reply. So if you ever wanted to learn how to get into jhanas, pay attention. And what is noble right immersion with its vital conditions and prerequisites? They are right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, and right mindfulness. So this is made very clear in multiple ways in the suttas that to get into jhanas, you need to be supported by the other 7 factors of the path. This is why it's very clearly stated in many ways that you need to practice morality. You need to practice living by virtuous principles to support your jhana practice. You can't just avoid everything else and then just, I'm going to get into jhanas. No, that's not going to happen. That's not how it works. Right? You need to build up the other factors. You need to practice your sila, right? Your right action, your right thought, right speech, right livelihood. You need to practice these things. You need to practice your right effort, your right mindfulness. You can't just sit down and just jump into jhanas. It's not how it works. No matter how long you sit there, unless you have these other factors, you're not getting there. You might be able to get into Miccha Samadhi, as Bhante G likes to talk about often. Miccha Samadhi, wrong Samadhi, right? There's lots of other places. There's lots of other deep, dark corners of the mind that you can go to. They won't be Samma Samadhi, right Samadhi. Unification of mind with these 7 factors as prerequisites is called noble right immersion with its vital conditions and also with its prerequisites. In this context, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? When you understand wrong view is wrong view and right view is right view, that is your right view. And what is wrong view? So most of us have heard this before. This is stock phrasing for what wrong view is, other than not understanding the Four Noble Truths. There is no meaning in giving, sacrifice, or offerings. There is no fruit or result of good and bad deeds. There's no afterlife. There are no duties to mother and father. No beings are reborn spontaneously. And there's no ascetic or Brahmin who is well attained and practiced, and who describes the afterlife after realizing it with their own insight. This is wrong view. And what is right view? Right view is twofold, I say. There is right view that is accompanied by defilements, has the attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment. And there is right view that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. And what is right view that is accompanied by defilements, has attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment? There is meaning in giving, sacrifice, and offerings. There are fruits and results of good and bad deeds. There is an afterlife. There are duties to mother and father. There are beings reborn spontaneously. And there are ascetics and Brahmins who are well attained and practiced, and who describe the afterlife after realizing it with their own insight. This is right view that is accompanied by defilements, has attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment. Adriana, the Buddha is talking about a mundane right view here, right? This is a right view that brings you to heaven, but you're still attached. You're still in samsara, right? This right view will bring you that far, right? It'll keep you out of the hell realms. It'll keep you in the skillful realms, but it will not bring you to the end. You're still attached. Welcome, Gray. Robert Ma asks, how can we know if there is wrong samadhi or right samadhi? So I believe, quite secluded. You follow if the qualities of jhana, as shown by the Buddha, are there in their entirety, then you're in right samadhi. Right? Right samadhi is clear, bright, energetic. Right? Wrong samadhi, like Bhante G always makes the joke, or would always make the joke at the jhana retreats, like you're meditating, and then you come up like this, and you're like, oh, I was in 4th jhana. No, you were asleep. Right? You were not in Samma Samadhi. You were in Micca Samadhi. Right? So many places, many states of mind that are not conducive to the goal, right? That are not skillful, bright, clear, clearly comprehending, energetic. Quite dried out today. The heat and the lack of humidity around here. All right. So let's keep going here. And what is right view? That is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. It's the wisdom, the faculty of wisdom, the power of wisdom, the awakening factor of investigation of principles, and right view as a factor of the path. And one of noble mind and undefiled mind who possesses the noble path and develops the noble path. This is called right view. That is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. They make an effort to give up wrong view and embrace right view. That's their right effort. Mindfully, they give up wrong view and take up right view. That's their right mindfulness. So these three things keep running and circling around right view, namely right view, right effort, right mindfulness. In this context, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? When you understand wrong thought as wrong thought and right thought as right thought, that's your right view. And what is wrong thought? Thoughts of sensuality, of malice, of cruelty. This is wrong thought. And what is right thought? Right thought is twofold, I say. There is right thought that is accompanied by defilements, has the attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment. So again, we have the same factors here, right? Accompanied by has the attributes of good deeds, meaning that you do good things. This is not being a bad person. This is being a good person, right? However, still being an attached person, right? It's like the mundane aspect of it. And there is right thought that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, and that's the transcendent. So the mundane and the transcendent, right? And a factor of the path. And what is right thought that is accompanied by defilements, has the attributes of good deeds and ripens in attachment, thoughts of renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. This is right thought that is accompanied by the defilements. And what is right thought? That is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. It's the thinking, the placing of the mind, thought, applying, application, implanting of the mind, verbal processes in one's noble mind, in one of noble mind and undefiled mind, who possesses the noble path and develops the noble path. This is the right thought that is noble. And they make an effort to give up wrong thought and embrace right thought. That is their right effort. Mindfully, they give up wrong thought and take up right thought as their right mindfulness. So these three things keep running and circling around right thought, namely right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. Oh, excuse me. I apologize for being tired today. I think I'm still kind of in a nomad lag. Just having what's today, Monday? When did I turn? I moved over on Saturday. That's right. I'm in my new place back in Jersey. Still kind of not back to back into another schedule again. All right. In this context, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? When you understand wrong speech is wrong speech and right speech is right speech, that's your right view. And what is wrong speech? Just checking out the chat. All right. And what's wrong speech? Speech that's false, divisive, harsh, and nonsensical. That's wrong speech. And what is right speech? Right speech is twofold. I say there is right speech that is accompanied by defilements, has the attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment. And there is right speech that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. And what is right speech that is accompanied by defilements, has the attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment? Refraining from lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and talking nonsense. That's the mundane right speech. This is right speech that is accompanied by defilements. And what is right speech that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path? It's the desisting, abstaining, abstinence, and refraining from the four kinds of bad verbal conduct in one of noble mind and undefiled mind, who possesses the noble path and develops the noble path. This is right speech that is noble. They make an effort to give up wrong speech and embrace right speech. That's their right effort. Mindfully, they give up wrong speech and take up right speech. That's their right mindfulness. So these three things keep running and circling around right speech, namely right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. In this context, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? When you understand wrong action is wrong action and right action is right action, that's your right view. And what is wrong action? 5 precepts. Well, 3 of the 5. Killing living creatures, stealing, and sexual misconduct. This is wrong action. And what is right action? Right action is twofold, I say. There is right action that is accompanied by defilements, has attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment. There is right action that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. And what is right action? That is accompanied by defilements, has the attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment. Refraining from killing living creatures, stealing, and sexual misconduct. This is right action that is accompanied by defilements. And what is right action? That is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. It's the desisting, abstaining, abstinence, and refraining from the 3 kinds of bad bodily conduct in one of noble mind and undefiled mind, who possesses the noble path and develops the noble path. This is the right action that is noble. So we see the 2 differences here, and this goes for the ones before. That's right. It's refraining. So you're refraining. That's like the mundane. So you're actively making an effort. And then for the noble, it's desisting, abstaining, abstinence. So it's like just kind of like a fully abandoning it. Like it is fully gone, fully done. They make up an effort to give up wrong action, embrace right action. That's their right effort. Adrian, yes, yeah. Bhante G talks about the Noble Eightfold Path. He calls it the super. He says you practice the Noble Eightfold Path in the mundane, and then you reach a point where you are practicing in the upper middle path. That's what he calls it, the upper middle path, where the path starts to become transcendent. And then in the end, it actually becomes not just the eightfold path, it becomes the tenfold path. Right? Because you have the first 8, then you have, oh boy, it's been a long time since I thought this. So it's right liberation, Is it right wisdom and right liberation? I think it's right wisdom and right liberation. So the eightfold path becomes the tenfold path. Yeah. I was right. Very good. Yeah. It's been a long time since I thought about the tenfold path. Good. I'm glad I remembered it. And how does because right view comes first? And how does right view come first? When you understand wrong livelihood is wrong livelihood, and right livelihood is right livelihood, that's your right view. And what is wrong livelihood? Deceit, flattery, hinting, and belittling, and using material possessions to chase after other material possessions. This is wrong livelihood. And what is right livelihood? Right livelihood is twofold, I say. There is right livelihood that is accompanied by defilements, has the attributes of good deeds, and ripens in attachment. And there is right livelihood that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path. Gianna says, great news because the mundane path is hard enough right now. They do it even though it's hard, Kanda. Yeah, the path. Well, Adriana, you've heard me say this many times, but many other people have, right? I can remember my early days at Bhavana, right? And like was it or was it right before Bhavana that this came up? But anyway, I remember having this vision of, you remember that movie Kill Bill? There's a scene, right, where the Uma Thurman is facing off against the main boss, and the boss goes, "You didn't think it was going to be that easy, did you?" And she goes, for a second there, yeah, I kind of did. And so like I was in like the throes of like this really tough time in my practice. And yeah, I think it was in my early days of Bhavana. And and that image came up, like Mara's like, you didn't really think it was going to be that easy, did you? And I was like, for Buddha's sake, actually, yes, I did. I thought I was pretty good. I thought I was, maybe not quite to the upper middle path, but I thought I was, maybe about, a quarter of the way there or halfway there. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh no. Yeah, no, this is a lot harder and it's good. And I have a lot more longer way to go. Yep. For a second there, I kind of did. Not anymore. Not anymore. But yeah. All right. What is livelihood that is accompanied by defilements? Is when a noble disciple gives up wrong livelihood and earns a living by right livelihood. And what is right livelihood that is noble, undefiled, transcendent, a factor of the path? It's the desisting, abstaining, abstinence, and refraining from wrong livelihood in one of noble mind, undefiled mind, who possesses the noble path and develops the noble path. This is right livelihood that is noble. See, this is another, those of you who've talked to me, who've heard me talk about right livelihood, I often say that right livelihood is much more, if like you look at the word ajiva, right? It's not just about how you earn a living. It's about how you live, right? So this is talking about a monastic here, right? So this is a monastic, right? Abstaining from wrong livelihood in one who, this is actually an awakened being, in one of noble mind and undefiled mind, right? Who possesses the noble path. It's about living in a certain way, not just about how you earn money to survive. It's much more than that. It's much deeper than that. Right livelihood really is if you're living the Noble Eightfold Path, then you're automatically living right livelihood. They make it They make an effort to give up wrong livelihood and embrace right livelihood. That is their right effort. Mindfully, they give up wrong livelihood. That is their right mindfulness. So these three things keep running around right livelihood, namely right view, right effort, and right mindfulness. In this context, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? Right view gives rise to right thought. See, now this is important. Right view, a right thought, gives rise to right speech. Right speech gives rise to right action. So it starts from the mind, then goes out to speech and action. Right action gives rise to right livelihood. Right livelihood gives rise to right effort. Right effort gives rise to right mindfulness. Right mindfulness gives rise to right immersion, right samadhi, right jhana, however you want to say it. Right immersion gives rise to right knowledge. Right knowledge gives rise to right. Oh, it's right here. There it is. There's the tenfold path. Right knowledge gives rise to right freedom. So the trainee has 8 factors, while the perfected one has 10 factors. There's your mundane and transcendent noble path right there. And here too, the eradication of many bad, unskillful qualities is fully developed due to right knowledge. In this context, right view comes first. And how does right view come first? This is I told you guys that this is a very famous, very important sutta for understanding the path. Very, very important sutta. For one of right view, wrong view is worn away, and the many bad, unskillful qualities that arise because of wrong view are worn away. And because of right view, many skillful qualities are fully developed. For one of right thought, wrong thought is worn away. For one of right speech, wrong speech is worn away. For one of right action, wrong action is worn away. For one of right livelihood, wrong livelihood is worn away. For one of right effort, wrong effort is worn away. For one of right mindfulness, wrong mindfulness is worn away. For one of right immersion, wrong immersion is worn away. For one of right knowledge, wrong knowledge is worn away. For one of right freedom, wrong freedom is worn away. And the many bad, unskillful qualities that arise because of wrong freedom are worn away. And because of right freedom, many skillful qualities are fully developed. You might think, well, what's wrong freedom? And what pops into my head is when the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, after the Buddha's final extinguishment, and this one monk proclaims, finally, the Buddha's gone. He was always harassing. We don't have to follow these rules anymore. Right? That's wrong freedom. It's like, I'm free to do whatever I want. Yeah, no good. And because of right freedom, many skillful qualities are fully developed. So there are 20 on the side of the skillful and 20 on the side of the unskillful. This exposition of the teaching on the Great 40 has been rolled forth, and it cannot be rolled back by any ascetic or Brahmin or God or Mara or Brahma or by anyone in the world. If any ascetic or Brahmin imagines they can criticize and reject the exposition of the teaching of the Great 40, they deserve rebuke and criticism on 10 legitimate grounds in the present life. If such a gentleman criticizes right view, they praise and honor the ascetics and Brahmins who have wrong view. If they criticize right thought, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, immersion, knowledge, and freedom, they praise and honor the ascetics and Brahmins who have wrong freedom. If any ascetic or Brahmin imagines they can criticize and reject the exposition of the teaching of the Great 40, They deserve rebuke and criticism on these 10 legitimate grounds in the present life. Even those wanderers of the past, Vassa and Banya and Ukkala, who taught the doctrines of no cause, inaction, nihilism, didn't imagine that the Great 40 should be criticized or rejected. Why is that? For fear of blame, attack, and condemnation. That is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, the mendicants were happy with what the Buddha said. All right. So this is a very good sutta, very important sutta, and it's also not overly long, so we were able to finish it. Because the last one we didn't finish. Some of the suttas in the Majjhima Nikaya are longer than others, even though they're all middle-length suttas. All right. Dao says, I could speak all about wrong freedom. Oh, boy. All right, friends. The chat is fairly quiet. It might not be a bad time to do our guided meditation. And then we'll have 15 minutes after. We'll read some Dhammapada verses. I think that's what we'll do. The Dhammapada verses are for those that stick it out to the end. Then again, technically, I guess they could just watch it tomorrow or later if they really wanted to. But yeah, I think that's good since we don't have too active a chat. We don't have lots of comments and questions and stuff coming out. I think we can do our guided meditation. Robert Ma has an interesting question. Is right view tied to anatta? Yes. Yes, it is. If not explicitly, then implicitly. Right? Right view is understanding the Four Noble Truths. Understanding dukkha, the origin of dukkha, the cessation of dukkha, and the path leading to the cessation of dukkha. The origin of dukkha is atta, the self, the craving self. Craving, right? The origin of our suffering is our craving. The Buddha tells us very clearly in the chant that we chant every day. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not every day. Do we ever do it? Maybe we do it every day. But anyway, so the Buddha, in the line, the Buddha says, the abandoning of the conceit, I am, is the highest bliss. The abandoning of the conceit, I am, is laying down the burden. The burden is the person. No, the burden is the five aggregates, subject to clinging. The burden carrier is the person. Laying down of the burden is bliss. Right? So really, all our troubles, all our dukkha stems from this view that all of these things are me, mine, and myself, right? This identity view, all of our suffering, all of our troubles stem from that. When we're able to let that go, then no more troubles. Of course, we're not able to let it go until we become awakened. All right, Sotapannas really make a huge dent in it, but it's not done. The conceit I am is not done until you're awakened. So yes, right view is tied to anatta. It's even tied to dependent origination. All of these, like the Buddha says, just as all the footprints of all the animals on land fit within the footprint of the elephant, so too do all the teachings fit within the Four Noble Truths. Right? They're all connected in that way. These are not separate islands of things that the Buddhist teachings just for the fun of it. They're all connected. They're all intricately woven together. And reading the suttas and practicing the teachings, over time, you develop the insight to see that and the understanding. Okay, friends, let's do our meditation. That means we'll stop at 50. So we'll do our 30 minutes here. Close your eyes. Set your body up in a comfortable and stable position, whatever posture works for you. We just want to make sure that it's an upright posture. And even if you're sitting on a couch or a chair, make sure that the spine is in its neutral position, upright, not slouching or leaning. We want our posture to be supported and balanced for ease of breathing and long sitting. We'll do a short scan through the body to facilitate this comfortable posture, stable posture. Starting from the toes and the feet, moving up to the head. Bring your awareness to the feet. By this, we mean bringing your attention to any sensations that arise in whatever part of the body you're scanning through. Checking to see if there's any small feelings of discomfort or imbalance in your posture. And adjusting as needed. Small imbalances and discomfort now turn into large imbalances and discomfort later on. Spend the time you need to now to adjust your posture so you can minimize movement later on. Bring your awareness up through your ankles into your calves. Through your knees and into your thighs. What's the feeling of the thighs pressing against the chair or the cushion? Bring your awareness to the pelvis and hips. Observe how the position of the pelvis impacts your posture, impacts the position of your spine. When you're ready, setting up your lower body in a comfortable and stable position, move up through the abdomen to the chest. Check to make sure the shoulders are hanging loosely, not scrunched up and tight. Bring your awareness down to the elbows and the hands, observing how the position of the elbows and the hands impacts your posture. And finally, bring your awareness to your head. Checking to make sure that the chin is parallel to the floor. When you're done setting up your body in a comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take 3 deep breaths. Then let the breath go. From here on in, you don't want to try and control or manipulate the breath in any way. This body has been breathing from the moment you were born and will continue to do so until the second you die. It doesn't need you to do its job. Your job is to simply observe, investigate, and abide with the breath as this body breathes in, this body breathes out. We come to our meditation with many responsibilities, worries, and burdens. Many things that may seek to come to our mind as we follow the breath. Past and present and future, family and friends, work and school. Many things. For the time of this meditation, we practice laying down our burdens, putting down our world, following the breath. As you follow your breath, you will become distracted. The mind will become bored and will run away across the world or the universe to the past or the future, anywhere but the breath. Or an outside distraction will come and will capture your awareness and your attention. When this happens, as soon as you start to regain your mindfulness and become aware that you've been taken away from your breath, first acknowledge that you've been taken away. Then let go of the distraction by neither getting agitated and pushing it away, nor getting excited and attached to it and holding on to it. Simply allow that distraction to go on its way, to give it no energy, and return to the breath. Whenever you get distracted, simply acknowledge, let go, and return over and over. Keep returning to the breath. Breath is our home. It's always there doing its thing, ready for us to visit. Follow the breath. Slowly open your eyes. Start to become aware of the room around you. Coming back from the internal to the external. Taking some time to contemplate the state of your mind and what has changed since you've begun the meditation. And while we're doing that, we can read the section from the Dhammapada called Heedfulness. Second section. Heedfulness is the path to the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. The heedful die not. The heedless are as if dead already. Clearly comprehending this excellence of heedfulness, the wise exult therein and enjoy the resort of the noble ones. The wise ones, ever meditative and steadfastly persevering, alone experience nibbana, the incomparable freedom from bondage. Ever grows the glory of them who is energetic, mindful and pure in conduct, discerning and self-controlled, righteous and heedful. By effort and heedfulness, discipline and self-mastery, let the wise one make for themselves an island which no flood can overwhelm. The foolish and ignorant indulge in heedlessness, but the wise one keeps their heedlessness as their best treasure. Dao stayed with us the whole meditation. Didn't go to bed. Interesting. Dao is still here. He wins the prize. Keep your mindfulness, your heedfulness as your treasure, Dao. That is your prize. Do not give way to heedlessness. Do not indulge in sensual pleasures. Only the heedful and the meditative attain great happiness. Just as one upon the summit of a mountain beholds the groundlings, even so when the wise man casts away heedlessness, casts away heedlessness by heedfulness, and ascends the high tower of wisdom, this sorrowless sage beholds the sorrowing and foolish multitude. Heedful among the heedless, wide awake among the sleepy, the wise man advances like a swift horse, leaving behind a weak jade. By heedfulness did Indra become the overlord of the gods. Heedfulness is ever praised, and heedlessness is ever despised. The monk who delights in heedfulness and looks with fear at heedlessness advances like a fire, burning all fetters, small and large. The monk who delights in heedfulness and looks with fear at heedlessness will not fall. He is close to Nibbana. Douse in the house. Yes. All right. So, friends, now we come to our closing. So let's do our normal business before we do our final sharing of merits. Join us tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, and every Monday through Friday morning, at least until March. We're going to take a break from March, but until then, join us Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. for morning monastery experience, for a half hour of precepts chanting and little Dhamma talk, little thought of the day to start your day with. And if you can't make it live, you can always watch it on the channel. And then Thursday night, I have my session on Second Life. So you are welcome to join us during these sessions. If you are interested in a community that studies and practices by the suttas, the early texts, feel free to send an email to maggaseka@gmail.com and ask to check us out. We can send you an invite link. We have, I'm getting a connection is unstable. Am I still on? We also have my Mindfulness of Death retreat coming up in 2 weekends. You can check my website, maggaseka.org, to sign up if you'd like to be here. And, friends, I think that's it. So let's do our sharing of merit. Dukkha patta chane dukkha, bhaya patta chane bhaya, soka patta chane soka, hontu sabbe pipaniyo, etavata cha mehi, sampadang punya sampadang, sabbe deva namodantu, sabba sampatti siddhya, akasata jabumata, deva naga mahiddika, punyang tang anumoditva, charang rakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fearless, fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, may all beings find relief. May all beings share in this merit of ours for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share in this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, friends, that's another Dhammapalooza in the books. See you on the stream during the week. See you in the Sangha, the Discord community, or see you next week whenever I go stream again. Wednesdays, I now upload an Ask a Bhante. So if you have a question that you think might be good for me to put in a video so that other people can see the questions, send me the question on the Discord or via email, etc. And I'll see about answering your questions. Okay, friends, until next time, Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy. Practice well and be well.